Hello.
Guys, are you able to hear me now? Am I audible now? Cool, cool. So sorry for that. Okay. So about today's topic is winning in the modern world by integrating spiritual, professional, and personal life. So I'd really request to stay away from any distraction for the next 30 to 40 minutes, right? And let's start talking about our speaker. So, about the agenda, which is the winning in the modern world by integrating spiritual, professional, and personal life. So, I'll be interacting with Sunder for the next 30 to 40 minutes. So, we'll be having an interaction session. And the next 30 minutes will be open for any Q&A. So, you guys can stop us anywhere, keep posting questions that you have so we can pick up those questions and then answer appropriately. About the speaker, Sunder Madikshira, he's the head of marketing in Adobe India. So he's been volunteering with Madhvacharya for youth workshop since 2004 and authored a book on Vadiraja Tirtharu on life and works, which was published by Sudhi Vadirajamat. And he's also been mentored by very popular, well-known Dr. Vyasanakari Prabhanjanacharya and also Dr. Shrikantacharya Bhayari. So with this, I would bring in Sundar, who is our guest for today's webinar. So we'll be having an interaction session right now.
Shri
Hi,
Gurubhyo.
Sundar.
Hello,
Hi,
hello,
Sundar.
Sandeep.
Hi, hi.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's joining us from different parts of the world. Thank you for having me here.
Hi, Sundar. So I would request you to take us through the philosophy of our workshop and also a little bit about our previous workshop, what we did in our previous workshop, and then straight away we'll get into the our today's topic, right?
Sure. Thank you. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. I hope all of you are doing well and doing safely wherever you are in whichever part of the world that you are there. What we have seen is that there is participation coming from 13 different countries, and attendance on the webinar is more than 10,000 people who watch it live and who watch the recordings later, which is a very nice thing, very positive. In the 100th workshop that we did, we had proposed a framework about how we should be looking at our life. And our whole life was talked about saying that this, our life, therefore, should be living with confidence. So when you are talking about when you look at the living with confidence framework that we had, that we talked about in the 100th workshop, that became the mantra, or that became the main topic on which we wanted to build the subsequent workshops on. And if you look at it, it talks about certain, mindsets that we need to have, and also it talks about certain habits that we need to inculcate. And that's what we had talked about in the 100th workshop. So that is living with confidence, know, live, and thrive. And the five mindsets to develop, it's already there on your screen. And the five habits that we need to inculcate, so that those mindsets can be preserved. Because once you create a mindset, it's very easy to lose it as well. So what are the things that you should do in a repetitive manner, so that those habits get converted into mindset? It takes some time, but definitely if people are prepared to work on it, they will see the results. We have seen that in every place. Nobody becomes a doctor overnight. Nobody becomes an engineer overnight. So therefore, it needs practice. So that was the living with confidence. That's what we spoke in the 100th workshop. But in the 107th workshop, we came to what does Madhvamata really mean? And he brought out the famous Vyasaraja's shloka and explained that in detail. So those of you who have missed the workshop, I would suggest that you please go and watch this 107th workshop, which was talking about the nine truths of God's creation. And that is when he said, Shriman Madhvamate, he is defined Madhvamata as Hari Paratara. These are the tenets, saying Hari Paratara, Satyam Jagat, Tatvodo Bhinnaha, Jivaganaha, Hare Ranucharaha, Nichocha Bhavangataha, Mukti Naija Sukhanabhuti, Amala Bhattishta Tat Sadhanam, Shakshaditayam Pramanam, Akhilan Nayika Vedyo Hari. So this was the nine tenets on which Madhva philosophy has been based. Today, we are going to look at one particular aspect, and this is coming out of repeated questions that we get in so many of our past workshops, which talk about, I have a professional life. Today, somebody may be a teacher, somebody may be a student, somebody may be working in an IT company, somebody else may be working in a bank, somebody may be a housewife. Ultimately, we are all we have our own professional life to deal with. And there is a personal life, which is our family life, our friends, our relatives, and so on. And then there is a spiritual part of the life. So there are three parts of our life, and how do we sort of integrate all three of them? Was the question that people have been asking us repeatedly. That is why today we have picked up this topic, and I hope that we will get a lot of questions on this topic, and please keep the questions coming as they go. So that is the introduction first, Santosh.
Me saying that integrating between what do you say, is it integrating or balancing? Because when we talk about spiritual, professional, and personal life, it sounds like balancing. Is it real a balance, or is it something which we need to sort of integrate? So can you just like elaborate more on that thing, Sundar?
Absolutely, Santosh. When you look at the way we have looked at our life, we have looked at our life as a triangle, right? It has got a professional part, it has got a personal part, and then it has got a spiritual part. So this is an equal, as you can see in the picture, it's an equilateral triangle. That means professional is one part, spiritual is another part, and personal is one other part. In this workshop, what we want to share with everybody is, our scriptures do not look at these three things as three different parts. Our scriptures look at it in a very different way. And there is no question of jugglery. It looks like you have to choose. See, have you seen somebody juggling a ball? They juggle balls, right? Three, four, five, six sometimes. How do they do it? At any given point in time, they can catch only one ball, right? That means when you have to catch one ball, you will leave the other ball. In our life, in the way the scriptures and Sri Madhvacharya has taught us, and it is beautifully enunciated with different Dasa Sahitya works that we see. It is enumerated in the Bhagavata, it is enumerated in Mahabharata and Ramayana, is that instead of looking at our life as three different parts of a triangle, which we have to keep struggling, which we keep looking at how do we integrate, we should look at it differently. Instead of looking at it as a triangle, it is actually a pyramid, which has got several aspects of our life. Our professional life is there, our personal life is there, aspiration for self, ambitions that we have for ourselves. And because we live in a society, there are relationships. All these three, all these several factors, and people can add other aspects as well. When you look at all of this, the difference between the triangle model and the pyramid model is the spiritual or the spiritual life or spirituality as we talk about it forms a central part of that pyramid. Everything is revolving around the fact that there is a spiritual access that we have. That means there is certain state of mind that we have which is central to whatever else we do. So spirituality is not about waking up in the morning, doing your meditation, going for a jog, coming back, doing your, doing a puja or doing some other kind of ritual, having breakfast and saying, okay, now spirituality is over. Now let me go to personal life. Then you're taking care of your family, then taking your children to school or doing, helping them having breakfast or help with the chores at home. And then your personal life is over. Then your office life comes. So I have to go and attend to my official duty till 9 to 5 is official time, and 5 o'clock I come, and then official life is over. And then let me come back to personal life and then spiritual life and so on. That is how we have segmented our life. Unfortunately, this is not a true picture of how our mind works. Ultimately, we all have the same 24 hours, the same 7 days in a week, and same 30 days in a month that we have, where we have to integrate all these aspects together. So, our Shastra says what needs to be at the central of our life is a spiritual state of mind. With that spiritual state of mind, we do several things. We may do rituals, we may do personal, we may have a personal life where we dealing with our families, and we have a profession that we have to be attending to, our jobs that we do to earn a living and having an aspirational career, and so on and so forth. So there are many aspects of our life, but they are all hinged on a central axis, which is called the spiritual axis. So, Santosh, back to your question about all the three aspects being different. I have a different understanding of spirituality that I have got from reading the scriptures to the limited extent that I have. That there is a central axis, and that central axis keeps all the other aspects revolving around it. So wherever you are in a spiritual state of mind. That does not change.
Just to reiterate, so what do you mean is like I keep spirituality as a base. That's the mind space that actually I'm in, and I perform all the actions. So whether I'm in office, whether I'm at home, or whether I'm at a party or a marriage, probably my internal space will always be thinking of of that Lord, or probably that the spirituality space, I would say.
Yes.
Good. Sundar, there is another thing to it. So we've spoken, we have given clarity on how to have the base as spirituality. So there is another question that pops into my head is rituals. So rituals is also a part of being spiritual. So people think of like I need to do puja for X number of hours. So how do I sort of make time? So spiritual is ritual, being ritualistic is also, or rituals are also part of spiritual. So how do we sort of balance these two?
Absolutely. I think that's a very important and a very central question in our lives. So if you just look at the way, so let's start with a definition of what spirituality is. I think that should help us clarify many things that are there, right? So what is spiritual? Like I said, spirituality to me, and this is the way Madhya philosophy has defined it. We have seen that in the in the 107th workshop in detail, which is that it is a state of mind, right? It is a state of mind which says that Sri Hari is supreme, Lord Narayana is supreme, and we are his devotees. That is spiritual state of mind. So whatever we may be doing, we Lord Narayana is supreme. He controls every part of our activity. He is independent and we are completely dependent on him for everything. And since we are his devotees, we are his servants, whatever we do is a service to God. Okay. So it is beautifully said, Jiva Ganaha Harer Anujaraha. That means all the Jiva Ganaha, all the souls, all the types of souls, all the groups of souls that we have are all Harer Anujaraha. That means they are people who follow God as their supreme master, right? And a beautiful state of mind Madhvacharya always gives is Vishnur me Paramasruhat. He says, for him, Lord Narayana is his best friend, right? And there is a very Sruhat means friend, but there is a very specific definition for that type of friend. Sruhat means a friend from whom you gain everything, but who has nothing to gain from you. It's called as Sruhat, right? So if you look at Sudama and Sri Krishna, we have heard that story before. Sudama had everything to gain from Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna had nothing to gain absolutely from Sudama. That friendship is called Surhat. And the third thing which you are talking about is the fact that whatever you do, whatever you look at, it is something that you are doing at the service of God. Dasoham Kosalendrasya. It is a beautiful introduction. So when Ravana asks Hanumanta, when he sees him in Sri Lanka, and saying that, look, who are you? What is your introduction? How come you destroyed my entire garden? And how did you manage to you jump across the ocean and you landed up at place which nobody else could do? Now Hanuman had several ways he could have introduced himself. He could have said, look at my Velar, I'm a very powerful person, right? And the moment people talk about it, they show their six packs ab, right? Hanuman did not do all of that. People talk about whose son they are, or whose disciple they are, or what kind of position they hold in society. Somebody asks us, who are you? Immediately we give an official introduction, or we give a personal introduction where we are linked to something. But look at what Hanuman says. Dasoham Kosalendraja. That means I am the servant of Lord Rama. What a beautiful introduction to give. If we are in that state of mind where we are saying that everything that happens in this world is happening because of Sri Hari and he is supreme and we are completely dependent on him, and you are thinking about that Lord Narayana and his beautiful creation around us, that is the state of spirituality. That is how spirituality is defined in our scriptures. Of course, there are a lot of other aspects, but at a basic level, that is the state of spirituality. So a person who is spiritual does not understand the difference between personal, profession, rituals, or anything like that, right? He is always in that state of mind where he believes that Lord Narayana is there. He is all around me. He is seeing me. Unfortunately, I am not able to see him directly the way I would like to see him. But there are other ways of looking at God, which is through the study of scriptures and so on. That state of mind is spiritual. Now, we will see in subsequent sections how the spiritual frame of mind helps us in our professional as well as in our personal lives, in all aspects of lives. We will see that in subsequent sections. But that is spirituality to me. Now, you ask a very important question. The moment we talk about spirituality, the question which comes to my mind is, see, I think spirituality is, it is very nice, but the problem is I don't have time, because I don't have time to meditate. A lot of script, our shastras talk about a lot of rituals, so I don't have time. You see, otherwise I would have pursued it. The point is, I think we don't understand the importance of rituals and why rituals are important in our lives. To get into a spiritual frame of mind, it takes years and years of sadhana and years of refinement before one can get to that stage. So those of you, for example, who have learned music or any form of art will realize that it takes probably decades for somebody to sound even marginally melodious or be able to sing well and in a manner that is fulfilling to them itself is so difficult. Somebody becomes an engineer. How many years has he studied? Since the age of 3 years, all the way up to 21, 22 years, He studied for 18, 19 years before he's become an engineer. And then his career is starting. So it will take many years for him to establish himself as an engineer. If you want to become a doctor, it could be, take almost 30 years before, you were called and you can practice on your own and get into an area of specialization and start treating patients all by yourself. It may take decades. Now, when that is the case with our profession, so is the case with our, even our spiritual frame of mind. It is very easy to say that Lord Narayana is supreme, I am his devotee. But to really start believing from the deepest core of your heart, it takes several efforts. And what rituals that are prescribed are all done to help us get into that state of mind. Right? Now, for example, when we say, look, God is everywhere, what do? We look around and say, where is God? I can't see God anywhere. Forget about everywhere. So therefore, we have idols, we got symbols, which we use to do that refinement. Right? If you go to a college and they start teaching you science, if there is no laboratory that you can see whatever you are doing in practice, or a visual that you write. So, for example, if you are an engineer, you will draw the picture of a machine, for example, or a flow diagram or something like that. Why do we do that? We do that because we want to symbolize whatever is a theory. Without symbols, theory becomes very difficult to understand sometimes. So, therefore, after some time, after you have really understood the topic, you don't need the symbols. Rituals are meant to do this. They help us get into that state of mind where which refine our thinking and help us concentrate on God over a period of time. So, for example, somebody does Devara Puja. He has got Saligrama and he's got the holy stone, and then he's got the idols, and then he does the puja. What are we trying to do there? When we do Naivedya, that is offering the food to God, are we trying to feed him? He does not need that food. He does not need any food. For that matter, he does not need anything from him. All we are telling is, whatever I have this, I am offering it to you. Nitya trupta grihanedam. We say that. That means someone who is always happy, who is always in a state of bliss, and who does not have any wants. Who am I to give you anything that is of useful to you? But by offering you what I have, I feel happy and I feel liberated because I have offered what belongs to you rightfully to you. Right? That is what Purandar Dasa says, "Kereya neeranu kerege chelli." That means take the water from the pond and give it back to the pond because that's where it belongs to. The same thing happens when we are doing the prayers. So let us not look at rituals as something which is which is very difficult, as something that you don't believe in, etc. The other reason why people don't have faith in rituals many times is the fact that they don't know the meaning of what they are telling. So when people recite a shloka or a mantra, many times we don't know the meaning. But if you take that as a pursuit, there are books available which talked about different, the different shlokas that we recite. What is the meaning of that in many languages, so that we really understand what we are telling and what are we trying to convey to God. And then these rituals that we have a different meaning. Now, let us say you've done all the rituals since morning, you get into that perfect state of mind, right? Where you are able to think about God, contemplate on God throughout the day without any interruption. That is the importance of rituals.
Some bit of effort, when I mean effort, it is like practicing it daily. So in this modern world where people are so busy, and they are not able to like put some time, so isn't it like little contradicting, where they might feel like, no, I'm not able to put some time, or so okay, I'm only thinking spiritual now, I can sort of let go of that ritualistic part, because I might be anyways contemplating. I might be like riding a car or bus where I'm okay, I'm contemplating, but I can cut short of doing sandhya vandana, or cut shorting of other spiritual ritualistic practices. So how do I sort of assume or probably balance that?
So again, a very good question and a very practical question, Santosh. I would say that when you're looking at the rituals, one should always find ways of doing the rituals which are mandatory. So when we say mandatory, there are something called nitya karmas, which we have to perform every day. Now, people ask, are these rituals mandatory? They are not mandatory. They are mandatory only for people who want to achieve a certain spiritual goal, right? You go and ask a person who is competing in the marathon, is running every day mandatory for to run a marathon? What will that person say? He will say no, it's not mandatory. But if you want to run the marathon, run all 42 kilometers, you have to practice every day. There's not a day you can miss, isn't it? So similarly, when we are looking at our spiritual goal, it is important that we practice these rituals on a daily basis. Some people may ask why. I can see already a question. Why are we supposed to perform puja daily? Is it mandatory? Without performing daily, can't we consider as a, you can, but that is the nature of the human mind, that it keeps slipping out of that state very frequently. That is why Sandhya Vandana has been prescribed 3 times a day, because our mind has a unique ability to get distracted from that state of mind. Every time a ritual is performed, you come back to that state of mind, right? All of us watch cricket, right? Let us say, look at the greatest batsmen in the world, all of them. When they bat, after every 2 to 3 overs, they have a chance. They always come and take stance. Have you seen them? They will keep the bat and check with the umpire whether they are standing in the right place. Why do they have to do that? They are the greatest batsmen in the world. They know where they are standing. This is the thousandth time probably they are taking a stance. Still, they take a stance every time because they want to reset how they are standing and what is their posture and how are they going to perform, and going forward. So a good person, a good professional, a good parent, a good brother, son, whatever you want to call, they all have to reset their focus on what is important. The spiritual frame of mind is not easy to attain because there are a lot of distractions. Rituals help us get to that state again and again. Now, then there are time pressures. What do you do when there are time pressures? You should learn how to perform these rituals in a short and a constrained pace of time. For example, the Deva Puja. One can perform Deva Puja even for 6 hours. Or one can know, okay, on days on which I cannot perform for long hours, is there a way I can do Deva Puja in 30 minutes or 45 minutes? It is possible. Better than giving it up, because even if you are doing it for 30 minutes, it's immediately charging your frame of mind, right? So let us say you have a phone, and it has to be charged. Does anybody ask why should I charge my phone every day? Because you're using it, you're draining it. Similarly, every time we step out of those ritual, our mind starts to drain that spiritual energy out of us. It is common. It is not very easy to, not very difficult to understand. That time we have to go back to the rituals, practice it, recharge it quickly, and then come back. Yeah, Santosh. Santosh, can you hear us?
Yeah. Are you able to hear me now, Sunder?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what I was saying is, uh, what I was saying, trying to say is, rituals can sort of realign ourselves and recharge. So these are very two critical words that we all can sort of take, as a key takeout from the conversation. So moving ahead, Sundar, like this is something which is very important to all of us, which is how do we integrate spirituality into our professional lives? That is very important because most of our target audience also might be like working professionals, and how do we sort of manifest the spirituality, the mindset of spirituality into the professional world? So and you're a classic example, you being a marketing head in a company like Adobe, and this is you are as like perfect example to all of us. Could you sort of elaborate and just take us through what do you feel?
So thank you, Santosh. I think that's a very important question. So first we talked about the spirituality is a state of mind, and that state of mind will be something that the person who is in that state will like to take it in throughout the year, or throughout all the aspects of his life. So let's go to that slide which talks about how we look at spirituality in profession, on profession. So a person who is spiritually aware is a person who has very strong professional ethics. He is someone who practices his profession with all the seriousness. So, what is professional ethics? If somebody being on time for your official work, doing your work to the best possible extent, working hard, working with your team members, ensuring that you're always learning on your job, and ensuring that your company's interests are kept at a higher level than yourself. These are professional ethics. A person who is spiritual is also a great manager because he's fair and has justice in whatever we do. In today's workplace, what do we see? Many people complain that today's workplace, there's no fairness. Somebody worked hard, somebody else is getting promoted, somebody else get bonus, and where is the justice in the system? Everybody gets perturbed. A spiritual person will not get perturbed because for him, it is saying whatever I do, number one, is service of God. If I deserve the results, God will give it to me, and that nobody can stop me from getting. If I do not deserve it, nobody can give it to me, and God will not give it to me. So he places the onus of getting the results or not getting the results completely on God. The Ishavasya Upanishad completely says, beautifully saying, Tena tektena bhunjitaha. That means whatever I get as a part of my life and whatever God decides to give me is what I'm going to get. He's got that firm conviction in his mind that whatever he wants and whatever he deserves, he is going to get it if God wants him to get it, not because somebody else wants to get it. And we ourselves see so many results that we get in our life may not be what we are expecting. We say, no, I think I deserved more. But we also get so many things which we believe which are beyond what we are expecting, right? But again, all this, a spiritual person will look at it as a gift of God for the service that he has rendered. So if somebody has got the highest level of professional ethics and he's always doing justice to his role, where is the question of disappointment? There is no question of disappointment in his professional life at all. Irrespective of what people tell him, whether that is right or that is wrong, etc., he is not perturbed at the workplace. And slowly, what this does is that it is giving people a lot of professional respect. I think at the end of the day, a person who is um, if you can go back to the slide, Santosh, a person who is a spiritually enlightened person is also a person who gets a lot of respect at his workplace. He's building the business, he's growing his business, he's growing the business of his company, but with the right values. He's not compromising with the values of the company. He becomes very likable because when you're fair, when you're affectionate towards people, everybody starts to gravitate you. You may not have a designation in your company, but people will come to you for advice because they believe that you are a fair person, you're an enlightened person, you're striving hard. Yes, it takes time. It takes some time for to get that recognition. But once you get that recognition, it is permanent because that has come from a permanent source, which is God. There are a lot of real life examples that we can look at. When I don't know whether this is a common thing, and it always amuses me a bit. Have you seen all of us watch sports? The moment a batsman hits a century, irrespective of which country he belongs to, what do they do? Somebody wins Wimbledon, what does he do? He looks at the sky, isn't it? Why do they look at the sky? Who is there? Why do they look up? Some people say, no, he must be thinking about his father, mother, yes, who's probably unfortunately passed away, or so on. But actually, if you look at it, in that moment, in that second, which is not happiness, it is not bliss, it is an exaltation, that state of extreme happiness which cannot be compared to anything else, right? At that moment he finds divine presence because he has won something which is absolutely fantastic. That is nothing but the manifestation of vibhuti, rupa of Lord Narayana. Of course, Gita talks a lot about it. I don't have to repeat it here, but it suffices to say that at that moment he is able to connect to a divine being, right? So that state. So what was he doing? He was playing cricket. He was playing Wimbledon. Why did he think about that state? How did he get? He may not even be a religious person. He may be an atheist. Doesn't matter. But at that moment, there is a divine revelation in his mind which takes him near God. So similarly, if we can find, all of us can find God, can find divinity in our daily work, find God all around us, or even in our colleagues and everybody, we will make a team, a great team. Who is the best team leader ever? It is Lord Rama, who got a group of monkeys and animals and he defeated Ravana. Isn't that a great lead? Can we get better lessons of leadership coming from Ramayana and Mahabharata? They're still the last words on leadership. In fact, the many things that are mentioned in those texts are getting visited by the texts and books that we read in management today. So our scriptures are way ahead in terms of where they have to hit. So if somebody is in a spiritual state of mind, he will be in that state of mind. When he goes to his office, it is God's work. He will perform it with the same level of purity that he will perform a Devara Puja at home. If there is a conflict, let us say there is a doctor, he is performing Devara Puja, he gets a call that there is a patient who needs urgent attention, he has to give up his Devara Puja and run there because the presence of God has shifted now. It is not here anymore. There is a higher level of presence of God in another place, which is where his work will need him to be. God will not excuse him if, despite getting to know that his patient is suffering, he is sitting here and doing puja and neglected his work, because that is more important that point in time. One may say, "Oh, what happened? My money will go. I will lose my sacredness." No, you will not go. You can come back, take a bath, and again start with their puja. There is no harm. It has happened many times to many people like this. So, at any point in time, a spiritually elevated person makes a great profession. And I know of a doctor, a good friend of mine. I'm not privy to take his name because I have not spoken to him about it. But he is a person who wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning and does chanting of several mantras and suktas before he goes to the doctor, to the hospital. So I asked him one day, why does he do it? He says, look, Sundar, unfortunately, most of my patients who come to me are in the terminal stages of cancer. They have no hope in, of living. I pray every day in the morning that God give me the power, give me the ability to heal them, and please ensure that the medicines that I give them are something that work on them. That is why when we take a medicine, we chant that shloka Sharire Jarjari Bhute Vyadigraste Kalevare Aushavi Janvi Toyam Vaidyo Narayano Harihi. And people say, no, God, no, the doctor is Narayana. No. Narayana is in that doctor at that moment when he is curing it. Because the Aushadhi that he has given is Aushadhi Janvi Toyam. Means this syrup that I'm drinking today is nothing but the river Ganga itself, the water, sacred water of river Ganga. Let us assume this is in the case of a doctor. But if all of us can look at our profession as a service to God, the way we look at it will completely change, right?
Exactly.
Like we want the freshest flowers, we want the best fruit, and we want everything to be done in a perfect manner when we are doing Devara Puja. We will do our work also like that, without distraction. You are sitting in meditation, somebody comes and distracts you and say, wait, no, 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 wait, I'm meditating. Similarly, when you're working, somebody comes and disturbs you, you will tell the same thing to that person. So you will have 100% committed, and it is my personal experience that people who are spiritually elevated are great professionals. They are not at loggerheads. Spirituality are not at loggerheads, but spirituality energizes professional life as well.
Beautifully said, Sundar. Sundar, there's a question from Narahari who says today's scenario is nothing but nothing is in our hands. For everything we depend on others. So how do we sort of contemplate this, Sundar?
So it is very clear. We are not dependent on anybody other than Lord Hari. That's it. That's spirituality. That's exactly how we define spirituality. It might appear that we are dependent on others, but we are not. We are dependent on Hari, on whom everybody else is also dependent, right? So when you are looking
Okay.
at this, so his question may be, if everything is dependent on others, how do I plan my life? How do I plan, my work? It's always dependent on somebody's availability. That is true. We are dependent. We are part of teams. We are part of an organization. So sometimes it may be difficult for us to do whatever we want. But if you set that expectation with firm conviction in your mind that look, I will pursue what I want to do, there is absolutely no one who will come in your way. I think half of it is in our own mind that all these are coming in our way. Actually, the fact is we ourselves are not clear about how we want to approach it. Right? Let us say 5:30 every day. I have decided I will do Sandhya Vandana. One day there's an emergency. Yes, God will understand who created that emergency in the first place. So there is one person we don't need to explain anything, which is Lord Srihari himself.
Yeah.
He knows everything. Hanuman, when he came back from Sri Lanka, and he had met goddess Sita there, and he had come back. All the other monkeys were running towards Rama to tell him what all Hanuman has done. And Rama says that why is Hanuman not telling me? Everybody other than Hanuman is telling me, and he's the only person who has gone. To which Hanuman says, what should I tell a person who knows everything? That is spirituality, right? We discussed Raghavendra Swami's life. When he went to somebody's house, the owner's child falls into some place and dies, right? And he's dead. Everybody has seen him die. But Raghavendra Swami says, no, he's not dead. There is Lord Hari, there is Vayu, and a person is alive or dead only when these two people leave. They are there. How can this person dead? The child be dead? No. Get in here, he's alive. That is spirituality, right?
Okay.
That's what I would
And
say.
there's also a role of conviction playing there, Sundar.
Yeah.
Raghavendra Swami's conviction also.
Yes, of course. That is why,
In
for people who are
conviction in
asking,
Madhva Mata. Yeah.
absolutely,
And also
absolutely
the
total conviction in whatever he's saying. Yes.
okay. Sundar, there's another question from Manoj who says that he doesn't know whether the rituals that he's actually doing is correct because we also spoke about ritual being which energizes or charges someone the spiritual mindset. Will there be any impact of not properly doing the rituals? Is this
So
question?
my first advice is if he has got a doubt whether he's doing it right or not, it is better to check it. Right today, let us say there is a Devra Puja, there's a meditation technique, there's a yoga technique somebody is performing, or some shloka he's chanting. It could be any ritual that he's talking about, Ekadashi Upavasa, or whatever he wants, whatever ritual that he wants. There are people who can clarify it to him. Let us say somebody is not doing it in the right way. You correct it right now. God will
Okay.
forgive. God will forgive us. He will not hold all our, past mistakes against us. That is not how, Mata philosophy talks about it. Yes, there might have
Okay.
been mistake, but once there's a reformation, right? Today we remember Purandara Dasa as what? Dasarendare Purandara Dasaraya. A certificate given to Purandara Dasa by Vyasaraja that this is the way a dasa should be. We don't remember his previous life. Yeah, that was a part of his life, and then we look at this Purandar Dasaru and say, my God, a person who was like that has become like this. It's even more great, right? So let us not worry too much about it. I would encourage Varun to kindly talk to somebody with whom he has got these questions, and they will definitely There are experts who will clarify that to you, and then do it. Start doing it in the right. It's okay. Mistakes, God will forgive.
Happens. Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool. So then moving on, so the last phase of our life is about personal life. So how do we integrate spiritual? Because personal life is something which we can sort of take it lightly because professional has some bit of accountability, whereas personal life is it at ease. Basically, we are at home. We have a lot of leisure, a lot of time which is given to us. So how do we integrate here? So how do we bring in the space here?
Yes. So if you can go to that slide, Santosh, I think it explains clearly. Our personal life, sometimes I feel, sometimes we do not take this too seriously. As in, we take it for granted. We believe that we are always here, so it is okay, and we can somehow make up. And it sometimes can get neglected between between the professional life and so many other things that we are doing. Our shastras do not accept that a person, the moment he's born, he's bound by certain duties that he has to perform. So if somebody is spiritually elevated, then in that personal life he will be a somebody who is, again, who has got a sense of values. So Santosh, if you can go back to the slide, it is about looking at values, looking at and being able to understand what is right and what is wrong, respect for elders and love for all. A spiritual person will never disrespect elders. He will never show hatred towards anybody, or he will at least try not to do it. Even if he is doing it, he will know in his heart that he is making a mistake and he will correct it at a point in time. The concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam will come, where it's not my family does not mean just my family. It's my family, my extended family, my society, my country, my and the whole of humanity. Probably, our Hinduism is one of the rare religions which talks about the whole world as one single family. I think a spiritual person is able to overcome challenges. He is able to forgive and forget much more easily and show sympathy when it's required. This ability to forgive and forget is a very important aspect as a person keeps going up, right? So let us say some, I have, this is known. If people do not forgive and forget, then people will get into mental depression because they're keeping too much of the past. If you look at too much into your past, you will not be able to look at enough at your future, and that's not a great state to be. Whether you're a person, handling your personal life or your professional life, it's important for you to forgive and forget and move and forgive people and forget things that have happened in the past and show that sympathy. Yes, all that happens only when there is a spiritual enlightening in people. So how do you integrate? It's very simple. It is to be able to look at God in every person and every situation that you see. How did Lord Rama behave? How did Hanumanta behave? How did Bhimasena behave? So all these are things which keep guiding and keep refining our behavior even in our personal life, right? There is the famous story that we all know of Sri Raghavendra Swamiji, which we discussed, when his guru, Sri Sudhindra Tirtharu, asked him to take up the Pitadipatya of the mutt, he refuses to do that. He says, no, I have got a personal life. I've got a wife. I've got a very young child. I have to take care of them. And then Sudhindra Tirtha Swamiji tells him that he is the right person to take up, the spiritual post because he has got accountability. He believes that he is accountable towards them. He's accountable to their to taking care of them and their upbringing, and he cannot ignore that. The moment Sudhindra Tirtha sees, he says, "You are the right spiritual person." Look at what he is doing. He's evaluating somebody's personal qualities and saying that he is a great spiritual person. Similarly, somebody who is spiritually elevated will also be a great will be great at his personal life, gaining the respect, gaining the love of everybody around him. So these are again not at the at the conflicts. So Santosh, if you can go to the summary slide, I would say that I'd like to quickly summarize and then open it up for question and answers. I see a
Sure,
lot of
sure.
questions coming, so please keep them coming. We will take all the questions today. So spirituality, as we said, is a state of mind. Uh, It is the central axis around which our life should revolve. That is what we should all try. Naham karta, Hari karta. I didn't do it. God is doing everything. A spiritually aware person makes a great professional, and he or she gains respect and leads a very fulfilling life. People who are spiritual are people who are very light. They're very light-hearted. They don't have any weight in their heart, which is constantly bringing them down. They don't have conflicts. They don't have chaos because they have found a way of resolving everything that they have through spiritual elevation, through meditation, through contemplating on God. God gives them that state of mind. They have freed up their mind space. It's like hard disk. If you've got too much content on hard disk, then it will the speed of the computer will slow down. Similarly, if you have too much of things in the past, too many things that are cluttering your mind, your movement to the front, to your life, your future career, your future life, your future relationships will all be clouded because of something which happened, 15, 20 years back. So don't let that happen. I think we should all adopt a spiritual path to be very good professionals, very good family people, very good friends, and be very, very important to the society. So when we are talking about all this, when I was preparing for this workshop, the picture that came to my mind, um, um, was Santosh. If you can go to the next slide, was our Param Pujya Shri Vishweshatirtha Swamiji. I think what a fantastic role model he is when you look at a spiritual person. He has got the respect. He could talk to the prime minister. He could be among students. He could be amongst many devotees. Yet, if you have met him, and I'm sure how many of you would have met him, and those of you who have not met him should listen to him on the YouTube. He is one person who would be in that spiritual state of mind, whatever be the case. Everything to him was service of God. Person with zero ego, person who was light mentally, and somebody whom people just loved to talk to. You didn't have to see him. His smile was enough to add that energy to all of us. I just want to end with one story. Once I was going in the Bangalore airport, and I was privileged to see Swamiji there as well, and he was rushing towards to his aircraft, which is the flight which was just taking off. This happened about more than year and a half back, I think. And that time, and I would keep meeting him in Vidyapitha. I would go to Purna Pragya Vidyapitha in Bangalore, and I would meet him, and he would talk to me. He would ask about the workshop, he would ask about how things are going, and so on. And in that airport, he was actually going to miss his flight. And when he saw me, he started talking to me. And he asked me the same questions, saying, how are you doing? How is the workshop going? Keep it going, keep it going, is what he was saying. So what does it show? And he had the same smile on his face even when he's about to miss a flight. Can you imagine all of us how we would be if we are going to miss a flight? You'll be shouting at everybody. You'll be shouting at the taxi driver, security guard, the people in the airline, and telling them all kinds of abusing them badly. But why do we do that? Because we are not looking at it from that point of view. For him, he saw God in everybody, and he conducted himself like that. A person who beautifully managed his personal life, professional life, and spiritual life as only one life, which is a spiritual life in the service of Lord Krishna. So his life was, I think, very, very fulfilling. And we all look forward whenever we feel dejected, frustrated. I think just thinking about him and how he conducted himself is he can be a great role model for all of us. I know some people may say he's a Swamiji, he's a sannyasi. For him, it might have been easy, but that's not the case. I think it's a state of mind. It is what you want it to be. You can be a sannyasi and carry all the burden in your life, and you can be a grihastha and carry no burden at all in your life. So that is what I thought we should share in this workshop. Over to the question and answers.
Sure, Sundar. So there is one question from Narahari. He says, how do we improve our quality of thoughts?
Yeah, so I think what happens is when we read the scriptures, right? Adhyayana, as we call it, and Patha and Pravachana, our minds start getting refined because we have a certain question. and we see that is getting answered in those scriptures. So, for example, about how do you control anger, let us say, right? Uh, the if you read Bhagavata, listen to Bhagavata, you get tips on how to control anger. Dhruva, one of the famous characters in Bhagavata, he gets into a war where he's killing a lot of people. This part of the story many people might not have heard. So he's going and killing everybody, and he's creating a ruckus. Then his grandfather, Swayambhu Manu, comes and he says, "Look, whatever you are doing is wrong." In 1 second he just gives up all his anger. How difficult it is. So when you hear stories like this, you decide, okay, I think when they can do it, I can also try to do it. So similarly, I think the refinement of the mind cannot happen just by thinking about it, but by combination of two things. One is dhyana, which is meditation and contemplation, and the second one is to adhyayana, which is to study of our scriptures. So my strong suggestion now, Proshtapadi, is going on. Please listen to the discourses by different scholars on how you should be molding your mind. Just listening to those shastras will actually start getting you to contemplate and start thinking. And when you combine that with the performance of rituals, you will see that your mindset towards your world, your life is distinctly changed, even by practicing it for 30 days. So let's do this 30 days challenge. Next 30 days, we will perform the spiritual, we will listen to lectures. We will try and slowly meditate and get into that state of mind and stay in that state of mind throughout the day. You will see that your interaction with your colleagues, with your team members, with other people around you, and on the personal front with your family members will change this.
Right, Sundar. And so there's another question which I'm not able to read his name basically. So he's saying which god that we are talking about. And I'm guessing his question is like, when our mind is not in tune, why should we do? I think probably that is his question.
Yeah. So I think the God we are referring to is someone who is omnipresent, somebody who is omnipowerful, and someone who is, controlling every aspect of our life. That is the God that we are referring to. He has nothing to gain from us. We have everything to gain from him. And he's our best friend. He's our best friend. Because even our best friends cannot be with us all the time. He's with us all the time. He's watching all of us, and he has got the power to help us, overcome, everything, all our challenges in our life, and gives us all the energy that we need. That's the God we are referring to.
And he's also saying like, when our mind is not in tune, basically, why should we perform such actions? So like, I'm guessing like, when we are not in tune spiritually, why should we even think of it? Something like that.
No, so as I said, this is not mandatory. Only if you want to be happy in life are these things mandatory. If somebody wants to stay in that list, in that state of mind where there is chaos, where there is confusion, where there is selfishness, and all the anxiety in the world, such people don't, have to do it. Only for people who have to come out of it, who want to be happy, have to start thinking on these lines, right? It is like the question is like asking somebody, look, as it is, I'm unwell, and who has come to visit me? I'm having fever, and the doctor has come to visit me. That's exactly what you need. You're not well, so you need a doctor to come. So don't look at doctor as an interruption to you. It is someone who's come to cure you. So meditation will help you tune. Yes, initially nothing is easy. Going to a gym, I think all of us who have gone to a gym know this. You go to a gym, what happens in the first 8 days?
You have
You
muscle
are
aches.
ridiculous, correct? Everything pain, your bones will pain, your muscles will pain, you're tired, you'll say, I'll never come to the gym again. But after 10 days, there is no pain. After 15 days, you're getting fitter. After 6 months, you don't want to give up the gym. Person who goes to the gym regularly, ask him to stop going to the gym, you will see what he's going to do. He doesn't want to give it up. Similarly, a person who has done meditation also, he goes through the same journey till it becomes something which he believes. People say is meditation addictive. It is addictive because you are doing it because you want to be in a higher state of happiness, and it has no side effects of doing it. So yes.
Sundar, another question which says, how do we tune our mind to do adhyana and meditation?
How do you tune your
How do
mind?
we tune our mind? Yes.
Yeah, I think but the thing is, it is something that comes with a little bit of practice, right? I would first say, when you are talking about adhyana, that is study, don't pick up the book and say I'm going to read 50 pages. That is not easy to do. First of all, pick up books which are short, which are simple to read in the language that you understand really well. It could be English, it could be Kannada, or it could be any other language. Pick up simple books which talk about basics. Get our basics right, right? And then start building on it as we go along. So, first day, you may be able to read only 2 pages. It's okay. Don't get anxious about it. Slowly, you will get that appetite, be able to read fast, right? You remember when you were in sixth standard, they came and kept all the seventh standard books in front of you. You looked at that book and said, "Oh my God, I can't touch these books. They're so heavy and so big." But slowly, what happened after 6 months? You finished half of the syllabus already, right? So, like
Right.
the way we get confidence, it is something which comes. Meditation is also like that. Start with 10 minutes, start with 5 minutes, I would say. Then slowly increase it 1 minute by 1 minute every day, and stop at the stage that you feel that yes, it's giving you the complete relaxation. Meditation is not to be done forever. It's not a good idea to sit in meditation for 7 8 hours because we are churning on things. The moment the knowledge that we have, the inputs that we have is saturated, meditating beyond that point will have a dulling effect on your brain. It has been proven. So your brain goes in as you keep progressing on it. Brain starts going into state of rest much faster. When you start meditating, it takes 10 minutes to go into state of stillness. After some time, it will keep reducing. And you will reach a state when within 2 3 minutes, you are able to go and switch into another state. And then it becomes easier for you. So you have to plan it accordingly with a lot of positivity and regularity. And when you do this, God will help you. You have to remember that Bhagavanta is in you. He is the Chit. That Manoniyamaka inside Lord Shiva is nothing but Srihari. He will definitely help us gain this concentration and get us the benefit of both adhyana and meditation. It takes time, but it will definitely yield the results.
Okay. So there's something on meditation itself. Like, what exactly meditation mean? So what is it?
So meditation is nothing but getting your mind in a state of rest and being able to focus on Srihari, contemplating on him, thinking about his auspicious qualities, thinking about his form, thinking about your relationship with him, and what he does for you, and what you in turn do to show your gratitude towards him, and contemplate on all the aspects that are mentioned in our scriptures about about God, the world, and other things. It's a time to bring your mind down from all the distractions which are there around you. Right? Our mind by nature is very prone to distraction. It's very easily because that's what we have trained the mind all the time. We've been telling our mind, the moment, what do we do today? Somebody is working on the laptop. He's got a phone next to him. He's scrolling on his phone, checking WhatsApp when he's doing official work. You go to a shop, the shopkeeper does not look at you at all. He's looking at his phone. So we are all distracted. So meditation helps us to start concentrating on the things that we do. It is known to
Okay.
give benefit not only in spiritual conquest as such, but also in terms of what we do as a part of our job. So the same spirituality goes to our job as well.
Okay. So there's a very interesting question coming from Suparna, who says, what kind of a spirituality that she can inculcate in students' life?
In the mind of children, you are talking about
Children,
young
yeah,
children.
in the minds of children, students.
Yes. So let me also say that I think we have conducted that workshop on parenting. I think she can go and see that workshop. and it has got good tips on parenting. When you're talking about spirituality, I think the common thing that we do is that we force children to start practicing certain rituals without telling them why they should be doing it, right? So there are many workshops that we have conducted on the importance of rituals, and that's the starting point. Understanding the rituals is an important part of our life. So instead of just talking to them blindly and forcing them to do things and threatening them that God will break your leg, God will do bad to you if you don't do this, which God is not going to do any of that, by the way. You are making allegations against him. That's the way we talk about police, right? The moment you see a policeman, you say, "Oh no, the policeman there. He's going to come and catch you and take you away." Police is not there to catch anybody on the road and take them and put them in jail. So that is how we have trained the children. I think the best way to do that is to tell them simple stories that talk about how God and helps people, and why it is important to maintain that connection with God. If you teach them all these small stories about Dhruva, Prahalad, our scriptures have got thousands of stories like this, they will slowly start getting engaged with that topic, and they'll pick up the moral. Once they have understood the benefit, for you to tell them what they should be doing is very easy. The next step I would say is to teach them some simple shlokas, because shlokas mean that you have to go, those aspects go within you, and God helps you to change your mind. I have a friend. I asked him to listen to all the lectures on Mahabharata. He heard lectures for 4 days, and he came back and said, "Sundar, how do I do Sandhya Vandanam?" I said, "In 4 days of lecture, where is it said that you have to do Sandhya Vandanam?" It's not said. But that is an internal change, transformation that he's undergoing because he heard Mahabharata for 4 days. I heard those 4 days lectures. Nowhere did the lecturer mention about Sandhya Vandanam as a ritual. But why did this person get that idea? Because that is a change that he's feeling within oneself. Right? Let us say somebody goes to the gym. His diet changes. Gym instructor never talked about the diet at that time, but he wants to change. That's an internal change which is happening in us. Similarly, students are very sharp. Today's kids are very sharp. They have a lot of access to information. We have to ensure that these people are prioritizing spirituality in their life. It's a gift that you are giving to those students and children all their life. They will never forget these gifts that you are given them, because you cannot be with your students all the time, but your teachings and that Vishtor me Paramas will be there with them all the.
So we have a live case. Shruti Rao says that she was under a lot of pressure and depression. Spirituality has definitely helped her in her spiritual development. So she feels more lighter and able to live in the moment and able to forget and forgive. So and there's a follow-up question to that, like how do we sort of forgive the pain and the trouble that they have suffered? There's a question on that as well. Like how do they forget and forgive people basically, and all the
So it is
troubles that they have
difficult.
gone through?
Yeah, it is difficult because you are holding that person's responsible for everything, and it might even be true. So the point here is that Dhruva, again coming to that story, the story. His stepmother ill-treats him, because of which he goes and does upasana of Lord Narayana, and he comes back. When he comes back, the first person he does namaskaram to is his mother, his stepmother, and that itself shows how a spiritually elevated person is able to forgive and forget. Pandavas also had no personal grudges against the Kauravas. It is the adharma which was done not to them, but to the entire society and the kingdom at large, which they were protesting against. Correct? Even Draupadi Devi was not seeking a personal revenge. She was taking the revenge that if this can happen to me as a daughter-in-law of this family in a palace, it did not happen in some hidden corner. It happened in the court. You can imagine what will be the state of everybody else in the world, right? So when Draupadi Devi can overcome a lot of those aspects, and our shastras are replete with certain things, definitely we should be thinking about how do we forget. The one thing we have to remember is That is the difference between the jiva, the soul, and the God. God is perfect. The soul is not perfect. He will do. The soul keeps making mistakes. As jivas, as individuals, as people, we will be making mistakes. Like the way somebody else has made a mistake, we also will be making mistakes. So carrying that hurt is only hurting you, the person who's carrying the hurt. It will be hurting them. It's not hurting anybody else. So why carry that burden all alone like that? So I think if you meditate and pray to God that look, I'm not able to overcome. Sometimes you reach a situation you say, no, I cannot overcome. I cannot overcome this hatred. I cannot overcome that anger. Whatever happened at that time was wrong. Right? The way it is to be dealt is contemplate on God, request His help to overcome the situation. And He will give them, that person also, the knowledge that he has wronged you. And even if that does not happen, it's fine. Because nobody else is getting hurt, only we are getting hurt in the process.
Very rightly said, Sundar. In the interest of time, Sundar, I'm just taking the last question from one of the students. He comes from Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Now he's studying Shastras and he has firm conviction in Madhvacharya. So he's saying, how can I make this transition?
So, yeah. So to me, I don't know what is a transition because
Transition, yeah.
he's already
Already
made
made that the transition, yeah.
See, the thing about Madhvacharya's philosophy is it is extremely focused on logic and analysis. So if that logic, that flow of thinking, that analysis is something that people agree with, they automatically have adopted that. They may say it, they may not say it, right? So Madhva philosophy is based on explaining and convincing the last person who has to be convinced about what is right and what is wrong. It is not something that which is talking about a fundamentalism. It is not dogmatic, where we are saying no, whatever we are saying is right, or whatever Madhva philosophy. No, it's open to interpretation. Whatever Madhvacharya said was refuted by several people after he after his Avatara Kala. Then Jaitirthara came, then Vyasaraja came, Adaraja came, Raghavendra Swamiji came. All of them came and ensured that the doubts and the questions which are being raised are addressed in a very logical, very analytical manner. There is no pressure, there is no emotion, there is no dogmatism in the way we have responded. So I think it is very nice to hear that people have made an honest attempt to understand what is right. All that our Shastras seek is what is the truth, and why do you say this is the truth and something is not the truth. So the transition, I think he has already made it. I would seriously encourage him to go to so many of visit several other resources that are already available on this on the web. Several of our workshops have dealt with this basics of Matva philosophy, and I would, if anybody is keen, I would definitely encourage them to not only study but also take a patha as a regular classes of Madhva philosophy by a learned scholar. I would definitely say that we should do that.
Thank you, Sundar. So there are a lot of questions which are coming on what is the right way to sort of do the studies and what are the granthas to be referred. We can, after the session, probably we can pick up all these questions from the description column and then probably answer them back.
Yeah.
Right? So moving on.
Yeah, quick answer, Santosh, is that I think we had answered this in the previous workshop. There was a workshop that we did only on study of Madhva Shastra. I would encourage the people who are asking to listen to that. We had actually given a list of simple resources, also the order and chronological order in which they can study that. If they have any questions, I think you are going to be sharing certain ways in which they can continue to interact with us and send those questions.
Thank you, Sundar. So moving on. So these are the next workshops that that are being aligned. So we have Science and Spirituality, which is happening on 20th September. So then Understanding Nature of God. About Brahma Sutra, this is a complete series on Brahma Sutra. This will be a really very interesting topic that we'll be talking about Vedas, Brahma Sutras in depth. So we'll be talking about more controversial topics like Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, and all those Brahma Sutras. And also further topics that we'll be talking about, what is about, is life predestined? What is, does God control everything? And what are the roles? All these topics that will be covered. The symbolism in Hinduism. Why do Hindus worship so many gods? Theory of relativity. So this is something very very interesting topic that we'll be talking about. Then tools to access the validity of truth, which is the experience, logic, and the scriptures. And there's a request from all of our participants. So, like, like, what are the topics to look for? What are the questions? So basically, like, you can whatever the questions that you have, whether you want to register with us, or if you have any questions that you want to sort of ask, you can write into us on like madhvacharya for youth at gmail.com. This is our mail address. Probably you can sort of send us the questions. We will definitely respond to those. And also, this is our YouTube and Facebook handle, which is Madhvacharya for Youth, or the Facebook, which is again Madhvacharya for the youth. And also, we have LinkedIn, Instagram, and also Twitter handles. So probably keep. I would request you to sort of go and like the Facebook page, and also like Instagram and Twitter pages, where follow us on these pages, where you'll be getting all the updates about our workshop. And as I said, the next workshop will be on 20th September, which is on science and spirituality. So, last thing that I would want to say, which is the conclusion part, which is thank you once again to all the viewers who have joined, and a special thank you to our MFI volunteers for having created this awesome session. And also, we'll meet you in the next session. Until then, live with confidence. Namaskar.